Oh, we're live. And hopefully you can still hear me while this is happening.
I see reactions.
Yeah, look at all the reactions. So it normally takes a couple of minutes or seconds, hopefully, for the viewers to catch up with the real-time viewers so that we don't talk into the void for the next 30 minutes. So while we're waiting for a few people, so before I even start introducing you and the topic that you brought, I just wanted to show a quick piece that I just finished up like 5 minutes ago, just because I wanted to show this one so badly. Here, hopefully people can see this. Hopefully people know who that is.
I'm guessing it's Mr. Rogers?
It is Mr. Rogers. It's my favorite, like one of my favorite actual designs, and there was so much actual debate over what color his cardigan should be. And I even went into like research of what colors he's worn most, because depending on who I showed it to, people were adamant that it was terrible because he was either wearing red or not wearing green or not wearing like a mustard yellow. And in the end, I ended up going with red, and someone just ordered that a couple of days ago. So I was so happy to just finish another Mr. Rogers just in time. So with that out of the way, what we should do is probably get started. So hopefully people know I am Mike Reynolds, because this is on the Everyday Grow That page. So most people may know who I am. And I have invited an amazing member of the Ottawa community to join me today. I believe we even went to the same high school, although a few years apart, didn't we? Kayla, so if you want to introduce yourself and maybe give a bit of a background of what you do, the like 18 different places you work and volunteer and organizations that you help and events that you run.
Sure.
Once you've done that, we'll introduce who the pattern is going to be today.
Cool. Okay, so my name is Kayla. I'm one half of the Feminist Twins, which is a grassroots organization here in Ottawa with my actual factual twin, Jenna. I currently am, my title's stupid long. I'm currently a provincial Indigenous anti-human trafficking liaison at the Métis Nation of Ontario. And then before that, I worked in weddings, and before that, I worked in funerals. And sometimes I do stand-up, and I have a lot of events on the go as well. So our big like Feminist Twins event would be the Feminist Fair, which is every year in November. But then we do other events like non-heteronormative Valentine's card making nights. We do support snaps. And our next event actually is next Wednesday, but I just found out sold out. So it's a pack night.
And it's very relevant to the topic, well, the cross-stitching part of this. I believe it is a patch-making night, right? With, is it Fat Owl Fibers? Is that correct? And I bought a Jean-Luc Picard piece from them for Andrea for Christmas. So I am big on board with the amazing work that they put out. So I just wanted to say, one, thank you for coming on today to talk and to design a cross-stitch piece, but more for all of the work both you and your sister do in the Ottawa community and beyond. It is super appreciated by me and our family, and hopefully by the thousands of other people who are impacted by the work that you do.
I hope so.
I hope so too. So with that in mind, before we discuss more, you picked somebody that we were going to do today for the actual pattern design. I don't want to lose sight of the cross-stitch pattern part, because we were talking a couple of weeks ago, we did Brene Brown, and Brene Brown ended up seeing it and said she was in love with it, and we were so happy to receive that. So who do we get to do this week, and who has the pressure of responding to the cross-stitch patterns that we're going to develop in a super uproarious way?
Oh god. Okay, well I guess I'll start with the title. So I chose a fictional character, so we're doing Olivia Benson from Law and Order Special Victims Unit, which has been running for 19 years, which is like I think the longest running it's series. I don't know what it is, but it's like it holds a title for something. I'll Google it later, but that's what we're doing. And I think it's really interesting that we're doing her because I have been watching the show since I was like, old enough to understand it. So probably like 13. And now, because I do anti-human trafficking and a lot of the show revolves around anti-human trafficking, I like to joke to people when they're like, what do you do for a living? I'm like, oh, I'm like Olivia Benson, except I'm not a cop and I don't know what I'm doing. Cause like, yeah, she's got, I don't know. But yeah, it's like a funny little thing I like to joke about. But yeah, that's who I chose.
Awesome. And I did do a little bit of pre-research, and hi to Cynthia and Charlie Capon, I believe, who looks to have joined and chimed in on this wonderful adventure. But I did do a little bit of research because I have to admit I do not know a lot about Olivia Benson. So looking at the, I'm going to go over here to, this is basically how I do my research, is I basically just do a Google image search and look for the one, because as people may have noticed over time, if they've paid any attention to the cross-stitch designs that I have, I can really only do people standing up. So I really have a very limited skill base of how I can design people. So when I see pictures like this one here of someone wearing like black and like a lighter black, this is basically like a dream come true for me because these are super simple. So you said that her hairstyle tends to change quite often. Is that, is there one in here you think that kind of, it's not that they don't all stand out. They all seem fairly similar, but is this like all black look a fairly standard one, or is it more of a, I see a blue shirt here and a green shirt here with like some.
No, but I would say like definitely in the more recent series, now that she's lieutenant, she wears a blazer, but she still keeps it very like minimalist. So like black or navy blue blazer, but like yeah, like this, the image search really represents her look. And if you scroll up just a teeny bit, the second row, the furthest on the, go over one more. Oh wait, sorry, I'm like directionally dyslexic. Oh, that one. That one's like super accurate. Of like, I think it would be really close to what
current
season what season just ended, so season 19.
Okay. So we'll give it a shot here. I feel confident that I can add black as a color here. So I had a few questions that I was basically really interested in knowing about. I know how many events that you two organize and put on, and I was just wondering, for someone out there who is looking to get involved in either volunteering or event organization themselves, if there's anything that you could, I mean, not suggesting people go out and host 1,000 people conferences, but let's say someone does just want to hold a support night, or just run like some kind of fundraiser for a local organization or something. If there's anything you've learned over your time as maybe not best practices, but things to be aware of, or things that people should be looking to when they're planning events, where you're trying to make sure accessibility is an option, where you're always trying to be aware that we are on unceded territory, right? So it's, how do you bring in everything to make sure you're hosting accessible and meaningful events for people? Because you two seem to do a pretty amazing job at that right now. So
thank you. Yeah, we definitely try. I mean, first of all, I should say, if you're in the Ottawa region and you're tuning into this and you want to volunteer, you should. So email me at feministtwins@gmail.com. But if somebody is listening out to this and they're like, yeah, I want to do a small event for my local community. Recently, as a joke, I made a Venn diagram of what it looks like to rent a venue, and I was like, good location, accessible, and like cheap. And it's like, it's hard. You can't ever really get all those three things. I mean,
Yeah.
like, cheap and accessible typically don't go hand in hand together.
Right.
So depending on where people are hearing this from, like, maybe you have a local legion or something of that nature that because typically legions would be accessible. I mean, they have like accessible washrooms, they have elevators, most of them do, or ramps and that sort of thing. So I look to the local legions and community centers, but my overall experience from event planning, my number one advice is you will not please everyone.
Right. Yeah.
Like
that seems like it seems so simple, but I can imagine that is something, for me personally, I'll try to put it in some context. For me, as someone who struggles so mightily with anxiety, it is overwhelming to think that someone won't like. I mean, this is why I started seeing my therapist, was because I always thought, like, I would do all of this writing and then I would think, but this one person really didn't like it. And what if I offended this group? Or what if I did this? Or what if I wasn't serving this group right? And it is kind of getting to that place where you can recognize the stuff you're doing while acknowledging that, yeah, not everyone is going to be happy, and you can learn the best you can from any mistakes you end up making, and that just because someone's angry doesn't mean it is a legitimate mistake either. That sometimes you're just doing something that isn't pleasing someone else, and that's fine. That's an okay thing to do. I just want to take a minute to say, Mike Cruz, if you're still on here, I'm incredibly sorry. Mike Cruz was a guest last week when basically the day after the Ontario election.
Oh no.
And our internet decided to quit, and I blamed it all on Doug Ford, and he got kicked off. We didn't get to finish his show, and it was a nightmare, and it's working much better now, knock on wood. But sorry, Mike, but yes, does look like the internet's working. And look at Steph, who is also another amazing Ottawa person.
Hi, Steph.
Hi. I wonder if one thing that I have been very mindful of in the wake of the Doug Ford election has been how precarious the sex ed curriculum and sex ed and health curriculum is taking his word, right? So I wondered if you had any thoughts maybe about the knowledge that we should be giving kids or young people when it comes to, because my opinion with the sex ed curriculum is it was a very good update, but if anything, I would love to see it pushed even further. And this idea that you see from so many people about taking away the innocence of childhood by using biologically appropriate body parts and everything, and by talking about gender. And people always get this idea that the more you talk about sex, the earlier kids have sex, and all of the statistics just bear out that they just make better decisions the better equipped they are with the right information. And I wondered if you had any thoughts on how students now are challenging school boards and implementing more consent-based discussions, and how they're challenging what we currently present to our kids, and how we can maybe as a community help support teachers or those who are looking to have these discussions with kids going forward.
Mm-hmm. I should probably put on the record that I don't have any kids, so there's that. So I'm coming from a place that is maybe not as well informed, but it's funny that you say that about the statistics, because once somebody asked Jenna and I about that, like, why do you think people don't want to talk about consent and sex? Because, you know, people have that mindset. If you talk about it, it'll happen. And it was the same thing in funeral services. You don't talk about death ever. You don't pre-plan your funeral. You don't, because it'll happen, which is totally not true. Because I don't have kids, I can tell you what I think people should be doing to support teachers, but maybe it's not that realistic, and maybe I'm really off base with this. But
I'd love to hear it anyways, though. So
okay, well, actually, I've seen some articles about teachers being like, yeah, F this, I'm still going to teach it the way, even if it changes, I'm still going to teach the way I want, which I think is really powerful and incredible. And I mean, I don't want to say the generic stuff like write to your local MPP and all that kind of stuff, but I mean, you have to make yourself heard. Who knows? Maybe we'll have our own women's march. You know, as a result for Doug Ford. I mean, it could happen, especially with March for Life happening every year. It could be geared towards that specifically next year, if that's what he's still looking at. Sure. I just don't understand why he wants to touch things that don't need to be fixed.
Yeah.
I guess that's because he doesn't have a platform, and this whole thing is bizarre how he got in the first place. So
yeah, and that's something that's really bothered me as a parent, is that it's all fear-based discussions around, like, these aren't discussions based on any facts. Like, no one is using facts for their arguments as to why it should be gone. They're using the argument that this is not age appropriate while the stats bear out that they are age appropriate. And I mean, there is so little that we haven't talked about with our kids. I talked about IUDs with Charlotte, who is 6 years old, like 3 days ago, because she had questions about it, and we answered them, because I mean, there's no reason for us to not give answers to questions that they're looking for us to sit there and say, no, you don't need to know about this right now, is ridiculous, because it's very useful information for her to have, not because she needs it then, but so that she can understand how she controls what happens to her body, right? And so the best way to give her those choices is to make sure she knows what those choices are. And it's been a totally eye-opening experience to see just how much information you as a parent, you could withhold so much information, and you could also share so much information. And it's tricky to see just how much comes from parents and how much comes from schools. And that's the other thing that kind of bothers me a little bit, is people say that this is stuff that kids should be learning in school first, which I would be totally okay with if people were willing to seek out the proper information to be sharing in their homes as well, right? Because what you teach in your home, you not telling your kids something because of, childhood innocence impacts how like a gender fluid child would interact at school, right? So them not being aware of what that means that this child is going to suffer the consequences of your withholding information. And I think that when people look at this kind of curriculum as a bigger issue versus just a in their family issue, I wish that more people saw that it's not just about them, it's about the people around them as well. So it's about your kids understanding diversity.
I think going forward, though, I mean, if the schools, let's say it actually goes through, or there is a movement or a protest or that sort of thing comes up, I really think that groups like Venus Envy here in Ottawa will probably hold a lot more kinds as well. We'll probably hold a lot more information sessions. So I think that within itself, I think like the community will lean on each other. 'Cause, yeah, I'm thinking about like my own upbringing and like what my parents taught me, and it was still very, very basic.
Yeah.
And even if I had a child right now, would I be able to tell them all the STDs and how you prevent them all and what like what barriers to use for all? Like I
Yeah.
don't think I could, even though like I volunteer at Planned Parenthood and I do read about this stuff, but not often enough, clearly. So like yeah, I think it is important that we support services like that in Ottawa.
And as a parent, one thing that I always stress about myself that is super important, and I didn't know. I mean, I became a parent, I wasn't sure what would be some of my biggest learnings as a parent, kind of thing. But one of the things I am proudest of as a dad is my willingness to say I don't have the answer to this, and I think that too many people, when they say they don't have the answer to it, they just don't give an answer. But it's okay to not have answers to things, and it's okay to go find those answers with your kids. Because
Yeah.
I'll be honest, like I did not know a lot about menstruation and everything before I was a dad. It wasn't something that I experienced, but it's not something that I'm not willing to learn about. And I think that it's something that I need to say, look, I don't have this information, but I can understand how it's important to you. Because one thing I've always tried to set up with my kids is wanting to make sure that no matter what, they know they can come to me, that there's nothing that is like oh, that's not a daddy topic, right? So to make sure that no matter what, they understand that they can come to Andrea or they can come to me about questions that they have. And I think that I love that part about parenthood, actually, is building those relationships over time, as opposed to when someone turns 11 saying, all right, we got to switch, we got to flip the switch now and start talking about different things. So when people say that it's a lifelong discussion, you don't have one birds and the bees discussion. It is a lifelong discussion. As much of that is building the trust with your kids as it is the actual information that you give. Okay, I'm gonna get over to my design here. I need color input here. You can see I've gone with a lot of black at this point. I need some. What should I be doing here for suit colors and stuff? I'm just gonna throw some lips in here because I know where lips go. So now it's coming together. But what should I do? What colors should I be looking at for? I don't like how I've thrown this belt in here. That looks odd.
Yeah, the belt. I'm sorry, the belt is a little awkward. I was thinking maybe she could be holding handcuffs though.
Yeah.
Or badge.
Okay.
I don't know.
Let's try handcuffs.
Okay, cool.
And so the handcuffs will look handcuff-ish.
Yep.
And I'll be able to make them look a little different when I actually...
Look at you go.
I know, eh?
That looks great.
So this is a very basic handcuff here.
Yeah.
Maybe what I'll do... No, I don't like that. Stick with this. Now we have to understand this is not I just realized as I did that could be interpreted as a bra like thing as well, it seems, but this is a handcuff. I may have to look through the manuals on how to do handcuffs. But I think I'm gonna get rid of this because I do not like oopsies. Not a fan. Not liking how she's turning out, but there's. Do you know what color her eyes are?
I want to say they're like hazel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come up with. Let's go with this.
I don't know if you're able to add in like dark highlights.
Yeah, I probably can. That's something
like,
again. Wait a second here. I need to get her hair a little higher here. Nope. I've lost it.
there you go.
Oops. What color would the highlights be? Like dark,
like a lighter brown, I think.
Okay. Did you say lighter brown?
Yeah, it looks great.
Okay. Wonder if I can just add some lines and stuff in there. Oops. This will be something else that it'll look better. It'll be more noticeable when I actually.
Oh, no doubt.
Do it. I just realized I made her neck longer than I'd planned to. Uh-oh. Just bear with me for a second here.
I trust you.
The thing that I've ended up liking about this stuff has been the actual design of patterns. Yeah, that's way better than I had it. I think her neck was really freaking me out. I didn't really realize how. Yeah, so the thing that's going to look a little off right now will be the highlights, but they will come together. Yeah, there we go. It will come together once I actually put it. How's that looking?
Good.
I wonder if would she be wearing different color shoes than the pants? You know?
No, I think she'd wear black shoes.
Right. So with this looking pretty close, I should save it. I'm gonna say Benson apply. I do not want to. This is going to be a simple one to do actually, so we'll have this one ready quickly.
Cool.
Is there anything you wanted to discuss? Anything you wanted to ask or chat about or anything? Because again, what I've been doing as part of this is trying to have these conversations around masculinity. Today, I know I had an expert in the event planning field, which is why I wanted to kind of get a little bit of information on things that people should be thinking of in those instances. But if you have anything that you wanted to ask as well, part of what I'm trying to do is learn more, but share more. So I know me and Brene Brown, we talked about already. Being vulnerable has been my biggest, most favoritist thing. So answering questions has become a new hobby of mine. Where anyone who has questions about my thoughts on masculinity or fatherhood, Father's Day is around the corner, and it tends to be a time where we maybe sometimes focus a little bit on, well, one, very heteronormative holiday, and two, it tends to celebrate the very masculine traits of dads versus you do get into the, dads holding babies and everything, but it doesn't really talk about diversity of dads as much as it talks about dads who like fishing and barbecuing and going golf, right? So,
yeah, I was just thinking that, in my head, I was going through all the Hallmark dad cards, and they're a deer head, or yeah, like fishing, golfing, football, beer. Yeah, they're like super stereotypical.
Yeah, it's pretty wild at this time of year how much you see it, and I think that like whenever you put those ideas out there, I mean, it does take work to kind of break through some of the what are stereotypes and what you expect you should be doing as a dad. But once you do, if you can get through there, not that you get through there and suddenly you're a perfect dad and you know everything, but if you can start working through the layers of, am I doing this because I think I'm supposed to do it, or am I doing this because I like doing it? Man, does fatherhood ever become a pretty wild and cool ride once you start not just enjoying, spending time with kids, but spending time more freely expressing your masculinity. And that's, I think, one thing that I've started to realize is just how great it is to be honest about who you are as a person. And kind of going back to what you were saying about events, I mean, it's a different thing, but knowing that some people won't like the who you are and trying to come to terms with being okay with that. And I take medication to help me understand that as well. And that is another thing that I am totally okay with. So
Actually, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
But before I ask it, can I ask for a favor on Olivia?
Yeah.
Is it okay if we still add a badge to her belt? Like, I know she doesn't have a belt, but like, I don't know if it's too small though.
Well, so is that where it would be? Would it be on a belt?
Yeah, she wears it on her pants, or how is she on her hip?
Okay, here, eh? Like if
Yeah.
I look at, so right there.
Yeah.
Wonder if I can change the pant color just a bit. I'm just gonna change it to this for now, like to a I'm not.
Yeah.
I just need to be able to tell what is pants and what is jacket here for a second.
Yeah, I don't mean to give you more work. I just thought.
No, this is. And would she wear boots or shoes?
Shoes.
Okay, I'll cut it. I'll cut it there for now. What I'll do is add this and what do we have here? Okay, what I'm gonna do is just add like not that.
Oh, so snazzy.
Okay, I'm just gonna add that so I know that I need to be adding a badge in this area here.
Cool.
Oh, and I'm also going to, now that she does have a belt, I'm just gonna add. You can't really tell that there's silver lines there, but there are. Maybe they need to be. Okay. I know they're there now.
Cool.
Okay. So how is that looking right there?
Cool.
If I get the badge looking more badge-like, and I think I'll also be able to do the handcuffs a little more handcuffy, I think. So, but as in general, it looks like we're pretty close, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that I'm going with the longer hair, not the shorter hair. Is this old?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So I think that's pretty close. I feel pretty good about that then.
Cool.
If you do, again, without being the expert.
I'm stoked. I love it.
Okay. All right. This then is the one that I am going to bring into production. Okay. There. Now I gotta stop playing with it. I like it. It's good. Okay. So did you have a question?
Yeah. So
Okay.
my question is like super general.
Yep.
But if you talk to Brene Brown, then you probably have an idea on how to answer this. Because it's a big one. It's like it's all encompassing too. Okay. So as you know, I have borderline personality disorder and depression, and I also, like you, I also take medication. I take an antidepressant, which I heavily rely on, and I'll probably never be able to not take it. Like it's like day and night for me. Though I've tried and things didn't go so well, so it's my decision to stay on it. Though I have had counseling and other sorts of help as well. Anyways, one thing I find very difficult for me to do is trust people. But I realized, like, through therapy and talking and meeting people and going back to school and, you know, just in general trying to find my way, trusting people makes me happier. Even though it's risky.
Yeah.
It can be really hard, especially it depends what it is. Like some things are harder than others, especially like when I went back to school and I depended on classmates to finish their part of the project, and it's like, you could fail me if you don't finish your part, kind of thing, right? And then there's other kinds of trust where it's like, my cell phone died and I trust this person's going to pick me up on time because, like, I don't know what I'm going to do if they don't. Anyways, the whole idea of trust, though, it's like, it's when people are like, yeah, and sometimes I overshare. Anyways, now I'm going on a big ramble. I just want to know how you feel about trusting people, and if you have similar thoughts about it, and if you would say that in general trusting people is a good thing.
Yeah, I personally think it is. I heard you use the word overshare, and I am a massive oversharer, and I do have friends that I don't have a lot of in-between modes. I mainly either don't really talk to people or people know everything about me, because I don't have a lot of, when I meet someone and when I do start building trust, I build it basically by throwing my most vulnerable things at them and saying, hey, if this works, then I guess we're going to be great pals and we will trust each other. Because it's like you said, I feel so much better when I do trust someone, with the understanding that it could put myself at greater danger, right, if that doesn't work out. But totally. I so greatly prefer having deep relationships with people where they have a lot of information about me versus, you know, day-to-day stuff where we don't really know what anyone does during the day and what issues we have and how we work through those issues. So I value the people that I chat with really deeply so much. And like, if anything, I sometimes feel bad because, I mean, I'm trying to think what I would feel like if someone threw all of that information at me. But even as I say that, I kind of enjoy when they do, because it's that, you know, it's the back and forth of trust, I think, that I like. So I am super into trust. And again, probably also an overshare. When people have a question for me, I normally think that if they're invested enough to ask for that information, I feel like I'm going to give it to them because it's worth it to me. So that is my very simple outlook on trust, and I'm totally on board with it because I totally enjoy those relationships. So
yeah, I feel very similar to that.
Yeah. I mean, even just saying that felt good to say it because, like, hey, more people may want to chat with me now. This is wonderful. And that's the other thing with me is I found trust and these discussions easier for me to facilitate in a place where a lot of my relationships are probably primarily online based relationships as well. I really have met, the people that I chat with most, I have also met in real life as well, a couple of times or a few times, but I feel that I'm not kind of restricted by just having the in-person ones or just having online ones. I have a pretty decent mix, I feel right now, of amazing people that I share too much with. So yeah,
That's awesome.
that's my answer to trust. Big trust person, oversharing person, and proudly doing so. So, anything else?
No, I think I'm good. I think that was like my main question for you, and
Yeah.
it wasn't just because you said you talked to Benet, but because I don't know. I see. It's funny because I feel like we have a lot of similarities between, like, trying to, like, well, I met you because, like, obviously from the community, but also trying to, like, I needed advice about going back to school and finding my way and that sort of thing. And, like, now we're both, like, putting ourselves out there on the internet, and I have podcasts and, like, trying different ways to, like, set up platforms to, like, reach more people, right? And I just thought that would be a good question for you, not only because you talk about your family, but because you talk about mental illness, which I think is so powerful because not a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
And there's such a risk to doing that too, because, like, for example, when I was diagnosed with borderline, my doctor's like, don't tell people you borderline because they're going to think you're manipulative and you're a liar. Even other doctors, like, don't go to the hospital telling people you're borderline, basically. So it's, like, really scary for me. And I'm sure you've come across, like, similar circumstances. And that was, like, my main question for you, I guess. So I'm really glad to hear that you have a good support network online and offline.
Yeah.
And overall, you feel good when you trust people. Because I like to say that too. Because sometimes, maybe I'm a little too trusting and I say a little bit too much, but then I'm like, well, whatever. Now they know they can do what they want with it. If they don't like what I just said, then they're probably not okay with me in general, and I probably don't want to talk to them anyway.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that I've kind of built along with the feeling free and trusting people is trying to live in a place where if I've told someone and they end up sharing it, I don't care that is out there anymore, right? So, and I think that's another thing that has helped me become. I've always been trustful, but that's allowed me to do it far more openly and freely. Is if I'm telling people something that is so, I'm trying to be so open about the stuff that I do that I don't care if eventually everyone finds out anyways. And that's kind of what's shaping a lot of my honest discussions is when I tell stuff to people, it's with the mindset that, hey, if everyone finds out, I mean, when I started sharing boudoir pictures online as well and everything, it was just one of those, like, I just want to do stuff that makes me happy and not kind of hide that it makes me happy anymore. And I mean, I'm 39 now, and it's kind of, I'm at the point where I just don't want to not do things that I would really like to try. And it's all kind of tied together. The idea of if people find out, I don't care anymore. So so to try to live the way I would like to live, knowing that people will know that, and me being totally comfortable and understanding that maybe if I'm living that openly, someone else will feel a little more comfortable to do the same thing. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. This was a great end of discussion. Normally I end up these designs and the conversation is over. And this has been we've shifted that mindset where now the discussion came post Benson pattern creation. So thank you for that question. That was great. That was
Thank
fun,
you for
actually.
being open. Yeah.
Yeah. With that, if there's anything else, if the audience maybe has any questions, if not, I mean, you can always add questions to the comments and we can get to them later as well. But I am so grateful for, again, the work that you do all the time and for taking the time to come on and chat about that with me today and to come up with this awesome character and direct me to, God, I don't know if I can afford a whole new series to watch, especially not if there's 19 seasons of it. But
and it's pretty, some seasons are pretty dark too. Yeah, like my dad is like, you can't like do this and watch the show. And I'm like, watch me, Dad.
Right.
So yeah.
Because I just recently got into, and I feel a little bit strange for this, I only recently got into Star Trek. So I've been watching the Next Generation episodes basically one after another right now, and finally understanding why so many people can like Star Trek more than Star Wars, and it's been quite the experience. So it's been fun. So now to know about the yet another series that's going to consume me. This is pressure. This could lead to something. So thank you for that as well.
No problem.
The other thing I'll be sure to do is I'm going to probably, as I've tended to do, share the final image that we've developed. I will share the video with more people once this is archived for us as well. And then I'm going to put this piece together. As I was running this morning too, I started to wonder if there's maybe, my brain is always looking for ways that we can raise money as well. So I wasn't sure if maybe the pieces we end up like auctioning off. I mean, if someone pays $3 for it, someone pays $3 for it. And that's $3 that we can donate to somebody. But I wondered if there was some way that, because what I end up doing is I create these people and then I have a really cool cross-stitch piece that just sits in my house. And I was wondering if there was something we could start doing with the pieces that we create on this show to help, like if you have a charity or organization that you'd like to donate that to, that maybe we can work together on ways to donate that, or, give it as a giveaway or do something with it, basically to go beyond. I mean, the discussion is extremely valuable for me. I get a lot of fun out of coming up with the pattern, but is there a way that we can then translate that also into, I'm not under any illusion that anyone's going to be paying hundreds of dollars for these, but if they're just going to sit in my house, we may as well see if there's something that we can do with some of these pieces going forward. So yes, that maybe I'll just leave it at that I'm looking for ways that we can, what do I do with these pieces that are in my house? Right now I just have a wall full of really cool people, but I only have a limited amount of wall space. So,
I mean, selfishly, I'd probably say back to Feminist Twins, because we're trying to double the size of the Feminist Fair this year.
Yep.
So more overhead for us. But I mean, I could name off like 30 organizations that I think are well deserving off the top of my head. But
well, let's do that, because Andrea and I we did a craft fair this past weekend, and we have never had more success than we had at the Feminist Fair, actually. So, so we talk about that awfully positively, because a lot of the things that we have are pretty, we're pretty feminist-based messaging, right? And sometimes you can have some really interesting discussions with some older folks as they walk by, and they're like, that is not for me. It's like, well, what is it about it that's not for you? So, so yeah, I mean, I'm totally on board with that. This is the other thing that I don't want to limit anyone. Look, I can give you two a couple of different pieces if you want to auction them off or give them away or do something at. I mean, even if you want them for, because I don't want to be in competition with Fat Owl Fibers. But even if you want them just to give away to people who are there or whatever, just as here's some cool stuff, not quite as cool as the patches, but still neat stuff.
We could plan an event together too, though. If you think that cross stitching is something that somebody could pick up in a 3-hour span and do something, even if it was like the Venus sign or something, like we could totally do an event.
I am running a 1-hour tutorial on Thursday, so I'll let you know how the 1 hour goes, and based on that, we'll see what we could maybe do in a 3-hour period. So
cool.
Cross stitching magic. Awesome. Well, thank you again. See, this is, I told you it would be like 20 to 30 minutes, and this is not the first time this has happened, but it's gone.
I talk a lot, so I was just thinking when you said that, I'm like, oh my God, that doesn't give me enough time to talk about myself or whatever. Yeah. Anyways,
And actually, look at this. We actually just got a question. I feel like the term feminist gets a bad rap. How do you define feminism, Mike? And I mean, you could definitely go back to the equality, but honestly, for me, what my feminism means is empowering people to be who they are individually, right? Because I'm not trying to say that that feminism focuses on men or anything, right? But I think what because most men are the people that get so upset at this term. And if people sat back and realized how detrimental toxic masculinity or hegemonic masculinity or all these things that we hold up as ideal men are limiting young boys as well, and men, older men. They're prohibiting men from reaching out for help, for seeking help. And feminist frameworks are so beneficial as well to the health and well-being of men. And it helps them understand that a lot of the things that they're seeing as masculine needs are detrimental to others as well. And I don't think that, I'm absolutely, totally okay with admitting that I have also been problematic at times. And to me, that I don't feel shame saying that. When you're raised, I mean, you know my mom. I have a great mother. I'm not saying my parents raised me wrong, but it's not. You do realize as a parent that you don't singularly raise your children. Your children are also raised with the children around them, the parents of the children around them, the messages on TVs and everything, and you can't possibly shape entirely any one child's mind. And when your messages are focused on guys just do whatever they want and there's no repercussions, you have to sit there and admit that that happens before you can really start changing things. And so for me, when people say they hate the word feminist, it just shows me that they're not willing to look at reality and to look at what words like privileges and biases and what all of these terms mean. And it doesn't make you a bad person for having biases or for being privileged. To me, it makes you a bad person when you know you have these things and you do nothing about it, when you live to accumulate more privilege, or not, you don't accumulate privilege, but where you use your privilege and you continually exploit biases and everything and move forward in that way.
Yeah, totally.
So thank you, Tanya. Look at, now it's almost an hour and this is unbelievable. So the show is something else. And this is what I really like about Cocktails Across Stitch, is that there is no actual formula to it. It just goes for as long as we'd like to. So for me, it's almost 9, and Andrew's going to see this video and realize I haven't put the kids to bed yet. That is going to get me in a heck of a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
They're giddy right now that they get to stay up late on a school night watching TV.
Oh boy.
So I'm again very, very grateful and thankful that you came on today, and I will be sure to share this video and our Olivia Benson. So
I'm excited.
So thank you again. Thank you everyone who took part in this, and I'm actually going to be having another one of these Friday already, and by then I'm going to have 2 more kid tattoos actually. So
Ooh.
I'm very excited. I think I'm now closing in on 50 as my total number.
Oh my god, are you serious?
Yeah, not just of kid drawing ones, but of tattoos total. So yeah, with 2 more, I think that'll get me to 45 or so.
Oh my god, I need to catch up to you.
So,
I don't know my ears count though.
What's that?
I don't know if my ears count, like each dot on my ear counts.
Yeah.
1 ear each? I don't know.
Yeah, and I haven't, I told Leah actually that whenever she wants to get her ears pierced, if it will help her manage the nerves, that I'm going to go in there and get mine done with her. So we'll see when that actually plays out. We've even bought ourselves our own pair of earrings. So I have a Ghostbusters pair and she has a Harry Potter pair that's just waiting for the right moment for when we finally go through with it. But I'm not there yet. So thank you, Kayla. This was amazing, and I, again, personally learned a lot, including a new character in my life to add to the Rad Women in Cross Stitch Forum project. So I will share that shortly. So,
okay, thanks for having me.
Any final words?
Oh, I was just going to say, if people out there are listening and they're interested in Feminist Twins, please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And you can find us by searching or @Feminist Twins, one word. And I hope that you like what you see. And if you do, you should probably like us or comment, and we'll probably like and comment back.
I will second that as a thing that people should be doing. And I will put that call out there when I share this as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I will talk to you again very soon.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye.